How many times can a person get tugged? Well, we have found the limit at extratug.com, where you can see exclusive content that I say dirty things in. Go check it out. Your mom is right, it's that damn phone. It's that damn phone that's making you all sad and shit. And we gotta get rid of these things. This whole episode, I'm going to take my phone and I'm gonna throw it over there. Ooh, ooh, yeah, that's not good. Okay, well, all right. My phone is over there and it's not turning on now. So I'm gonna make a point in this video that we can live without these things. But today we're talking about the smartphone. The smartphone, the arguably one of the most important inventions ever, but it also might signal the decline of the civilization that we live in. 90% of adults in the US own a smartphone. They aren't just popular, they're essential. The world is completely reliant on the internet nowadays, and smartphones serve as our connection to the web at all times. In the current era, over 62% of all internet connection comes from phones, which it makes a lot of sense, but as an early 2000s kid, I still feel like everyone has like a computer in the middle of their house that they're using the internet for, but it makes sense that that's not true anymore. It's just fucking me up. I don't like that at all. These bricks in our pocket are the key to total information, entertainment, and engagement. And big boobs. And I guess that fits all three categories. But the light box in your pocket, it can be so many things. It can be your wallet. It can be your flight ticket. And if you're stuck in a situation where you have to kill a lot of time, you can just play Balatro. Like, you can do that on your phone now. It's perfect. With all its tools and access to information, we end up spending a lot of time staring at our phones. The average person spends over 4.5 hours on their phone every day. And I don't know about you, but I went outside recently for the first time in a while, and it's getting pretty weird out there because of these things. Sort of like smartphones are making us less human and a little bit more dumber. So I know that this whole video is gonna boil down to cell phone bad, which is a topic that boomers love to hit on, but let me talk directly to the kids right now. Hey kids, did you know that cell phones weren't always smart? They were dumb phones, I think that we call them now. In fact, when they first hit the market, they looked downright idiotic. The idea of the mobile phone was actually patented in 1917 by a fella named Eric Tigerstedted, whatever that name is, who is also known as the Thomas Edison of Finland, which, you know, pretty lame title, but you get your accolades. Even though it would take over half a century for his concept to become a reality, the idea always seemed to be the next logical step in communication. And then in 1946, the first cell phone was invented by Motorola. And the idea for a cellular network was imagined all the way back in 1947 by Bell Labs. And since we're talking about inventions and ideas being had in the mid-1900s, you know I'm about to talk about the Soviets. It's been a couple episodes, I almost got away from the curse, but it keeps coming back to me like the Crypt Keeper. In 1957, Soviet engineer, this name, I'm not even gonna try on this one. This one would embarrass me. Developed the LK1, a prototype for a modern cell phone. And it never caught on because its reliance to radio communications. It's pretty much just a walkie-talkie. In 1973, American engineer Marty Cooper made the first cellular phone call on the Motorola prototype. 10 years later, Motorola released the Dynatac 8000X to the public. People were naming perfectly back in the day. I'm sick of like the Apple 17 or whatever the put some X's in there, put some thousands. So for all intents and purposes, this was the first cell phone, although it looks wildly primitive compared to what we're using today. It was 10 inches long before you extended the 6-inch antenna, and it weighed about 2.5 pounds. It took 10 hours to charge, and after that 10 hours, you would have 30 minutes of time where it was working. So this thing was ineffective, to say the least. It barely fucking worked. But as we talked about in the Jello episode, this thing was more a status symbol than anything. Owning a Dynatac was a flex. A flex that set you back about $4,000 in 1980s money. I didn't adjust for inflation. Oh no, I did. That's $11,700 nowadays for a fucking cell phone. Getting one of these phones back in the day is like getting a Cybertruck now. It means you're a douchebag. And I don't want to get too opinionated, but the Cybertruck looks like shit. I mean, the concept art for that thing was cool, and then he brought it out and it has like, it's way too long, and it looks like a duck. It's fucking dog shit. Anyway, by the time the 90s rolled around, cell phones were getting smaller and cheaper. On December 3rd, 1992, a British engineer changed the future of phones forever with the world's first text. And that text read, "You up? Horny right now. Come over in 5. I have wine." Just kidding, it said Merry Christmas, but that would have been fantastic. Through the 90s, companies would experiment with perfecting SMS messaging. Nokia released the first phone that could send a text in 1993, though it could only send messages to users on the same mobile network, which is a foreign concept nowadays, but that was pretty common back in the day. In 1995, T9, or Text on 9 technology was invented. This enabled predictive texting, and this is a talent that people my age have that kids have no fucking idea how hard this was and how sick it was to nail text messages with only 9 numbers. It was fucking hard and it was cool to do, but it was complicated because the numbers were tiny, and if your thumb's up a little bit, it would derail the entire message. You'd be like 4453331, and you'd be like, I think I just said hello, and you send the text and you called someone's mom's a bitch. It would just happen. In 1996, another innovation happened, the flip phone, the clamshell. Up until this point, carrying a cell phone was pretty much just a full-size cordless phone shoved into your pocket. But now they could fold, meaning you could save all that space in your cargo pants for your Game Boy. Through the 90s and Y2K, a bunch of new features were added, like cameras and full-color screens and keyboards, and eventually all this efficiency led us to the smartphone. It's getting real f***ing smart up in this bitch. Some folks argue that the first smartphone was actually the Simon, invented in 1992 by IBM. And in a sense, they're correct. In the same way, you know, someone saying a hot dog is a sandwich. Like, okay, I guess. We're not getting into that again. That's a f***ing stupid argument. But this phone could send and receive emails and faxes, and had basic apps like Notepad and Calendar, and even had a touchscreen. However, the Simon's lack of internet connectivity kind of takes it out of the realm of smartphones. It wasn't until 2001 where phones really took the look they have on today, because they finally had the ability to access the internet. Imagine being f***ing 14 years old with a internet in your pocket for the first time. You're looking up tits. It's gonna happen. This really completed the journey of a cell phone from a phone in your pocket to a personalized computer in your pants. In the wake of this new technology, models like the Motorola Razr and BlackBerry became wildly popular, paving the way for the 2000 introduction of the iPhone, the beginning of the end. And I will say, I just skipped a lot of history. If you're interested in what the BlackBerry was, go watch the movie. It was really good. Not a lot of people talked about it. But if you want to know the hype of what was going on with smartphones, go watch the release video of the iPhone when Steve Jobs go out there with the beltless jeans and he's talking. He's like, MP3, internet, phone. Do you get what I'm saying? He puts them all together on stage and everyone's like, holy f***, it's all gonna be on one device. I can't believe that. It had web surfing, it was sleekly designed, and it had thousands of apps to download on day one. By the end of 2008, Apple had sold over 12 million iPhones, and today, Apple regularly sells over 200 million phones annually and accounts for the majority of smartphones sold in the US. That was all one take, baby. Chris, don't show the take I f***ed up on, please. The iPhone signaled the beginning of the smartphone era. 4.88 billion people in the world are now smartphone users, which accounts for 60% of all people on Earth. That number is even crazier when you realize that 750 million people on this Earth don't have access to electricity. Some people are still out there using candles functionally, like they're not setting up moods, they are trying to see at night with candles, while other people are sitting on the toilet watching 4K videos on their iPhone. It's insane. Phones are so deeply ingrained in our culture that we willingly give them to children. And this is when this video takes a little bit of a turn. I'm gonna get a little bit preachy soon. On average, a child gets their first smartphone between the ages of 11 and 12, which, good f***ing luck to them. They're about to fully witness the horrors of humanity through online content. That is too much for a 12-year-old. We're talking egregious violence. We're talking weird porn. We're talking dopamine hijacking algorithms that have no guardrails for children. But you know, what's the worst that can happen? Chris, make the next title The Worst That Can Happen, please. From an early age, smartphones can stunt a child's development. Children learn to interact socially by observing and mimicking the expressions and reactions of others. And you can't do that when your nose is pressed up against a greasy iPad. You just can't. According to neuroscientist Mark Williams, the more time kids spend on digital devices, the less empathetic they turn out being. This makes them less likely to process emotions and recognize facial expressions, complicating collaboration and social interaction. So all these kids are becoming little freaks because of their Cocomelon. But this problem becomes way harder to fight in a classroom at a time where we're still struggling to teach media literacy, online media literacy. These kids are In complicating matters are companies like Microsoft, who in 2014, under the guise of charity, donated $1 billion to schools to purchase Microsoft technology. Or Meta, which donated a bunch of headsets to universities in 2023. And this bothers me for a few reasons. The first being that it's such a thinly veiled marketing scheme, it's insulting to our intelligence. But also, we're letting tech dictate how we interact with it, which should 100% be the other way around. But let's get back on topic. Since 2012, the beginning of the smartphone era, test scores for children in America have steadily declined. And in 2023, scores were down across the board for every developed country. So this isn't just an America thing. We're all rotting our brains with these fucking light boxes. Experts believe there is a direct correlation between less screen time and success in school. And there's also tons of research that shows if you read something on a computer, it doesn't hit your brain as well when you read it off a book, which I don't understand. I haven't read a book in a very long time. Almost my whole life. I got through all of college without reading books. Am I fucking stupid? Then there's just the pure distraction of phones. I remember being in high school and I went to a Catholic school, and if they caught you with a phone, they would take it and your parents would have to come get it for you. They didn't fuck around. But my public school friends, they'd be sending Snapchats while the teacher is teaching. They'd be fucking around in the back of the classroom with their phones while the teacher is teaching. How the fuck are you gonna learn anything with that kind of mentality? But nowadays, many students say they feel anxious or nervous when the phone isn't always on them. So it's a double-edged sword. You can't take it away from them. But okay, if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of us deem intelligence just to be how much we can memorize shit. That's what a lot of people think something intelligence is. It's not, but that's what seems to be the bar. And phones have hindered that ability crazy like. I know I'm gonna sound like an old man yelling at the clouds here. Like when they first invented books, I'm pretty sure there's like written history of people who used to memorize entire, you know, books in their heads, that they're like, the books are gonna rot people's brains and they're not gonna be able to memorize a lot of stuff. And that turned out to be true, but it didn't matter because we had books, right? But I mean, the phone definitely has f***ed up our brains considerably. People used to know how to get to places. You know what I mean? Like, if I need to get to some place in Manhattan while I'm in Brooklyn, if I don't have my phone on me, I'm not getting there. I don't know how to take the train without this thing in my pocket telling me where to go. You didn't have to use GPS back in the day because you knew the general layout of your town. I don't even know what the cross street is that I'm on. I know the street I'm on. I don't know the other streets touching it, which is f***ed up. And because of all of this, our hippocampus is shrinking. And you know what a hippocampus is? It's not a school for hippos. Hippocampus is the part of the brain we use for memory and recall. And a study of cab drivers in London showed that thanks to their navigational skills, they have larger memory centers in their brains. London streets are notoriously difficult to navigate, and to become a cab driver, you really have to study really hard all the streets to get that license. It's very specific. And the study showed that their intense training made their hippocampus get all big like. Another study showed children who were taught how to construct a project with digital blocks were unable to replicate the project with real blocks. This is another danger that comes with utilizing technology, smartphone technology, in the classroom. Because time and time again, it's been proven to be a very bad teacher. We're talking about smaller memory centers of our brain. We are literally rotting our brains. We are shrinking our brains because of this shit. And the dangers of smartphones are not just limited to the classrooms. I'm going off right now. I have so much to bitch about. Chronic and problematic smartphone use is cratering our mental health. One recent study shows that excessive smartphone usage makes it so that you are twice as likely to be anxious and nervous all the time. And depressed. No, 3 times more prone to depression. 3 times more. And teens are particularly vulnerable, with over 18% admitting that they use their phones to a problematic level. According to the CDC, in 2023, 40% of students reported persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. What happened to Y2K? What happened to Walking on Sunshine? And it's not just teens who are struggling with the sad effects of smartphones. Feelings of loneliness, isolation, depression, and anxiety are common in adults' use too. Doom scrolling is an addictive thing that people always do when they have a chance to, and it's an anxiety-inducing habit that many of Americans fall into. But the phone is not a real place. Like, there's a bunch of, you go on Twitter, people are bitching about whatever, and then you put it down, and things slow down to a snail's pace when you just look around at the real world. It's not that crazy. But because you're getting overstimulated on your phone, this feeling makes it hard to engage with the slower pace of the real world. And then we carry this overstimulation into our workplace and into our relationships, causing performance issues at work or in the bedroom when you can't get it up because you read too much about Trump today. It's no wonder that 90% of Americans think we're in a mental health crisis. It's clear that smartphones are capable of detrimental effects, but the answer seems pretty obvious, right? Just use your phone in moderation. Right? That's gonna be so easy. There's just one little itty bitty tiny little problem. Phones are literally designed to steal your attention. They're literally designed to make it so you can't put them down, and it works. The average American checks their device 144 times a day. And that's just not counting when you have your phone in your hand. Like, that's like, you could spend an hour on your phone and then you put it down, you pick it back up again, that's another time. So 144 times of that in between the times you're staring at it. It's way too, it's almost all day. And that's because our phones are constantly reminding us that they exist. Except for mine. Getting a little nervous, actually. It is not making a lot of noises. I might have fucked it up crazy. Actually, Chris, let's take a look at Abby over here real quick. Is she in the frame? Actually, Abby is guarding my phone right now like a good little baby. Look at her, she's so sweet, but my phone is probably pretty fucked up, actually. But since most apps and social media sites are free, they use addictive, design to get you back on the app as quickly as possible. Because you can see more ads. And ad over. Okay, perfect. The average American gets upwards of 50 push notifications a day. Some of these notifications are helpful, like I get an important email, I want my phone to let me know about that. But other push notifications are just pure insanity, like when Uber Eats hits me up at like 2 in the morning like, hey, we have tacos. Are you drunk? That would be perfect. I literally got a push notification from McDonald's back when I had McDonald's app. Don't call me a big back, but it said, we miss you. That's what the notification said. McDonald's should never say that to me. And then there's like game apps like Tetris. I bought Tetris a while ago and it keeps saying like, hey, come back, just come back and play it. Why do I need a notification for you to tell me to come back and play this fucking game? I'll come back when I want to. I'm not gonna look at my phone and be like, you know what, he's right. Tetris is right, I should play him. And then there's like language apps like Duolingo that like are constantly reminding you to do it, which I guess is great, but at one point you gotta walk away from that shit. And then there's like astrology apps like CoStar that will like, hey, your day at a glance, contemplate how you get someone to succumb to you. How do you not click on that? That's a crazy thing for your phone to say to you. And then there's news apps, which are the worst at this shit. They know that they only have a certain amount of words that will come up in the notification to get your attention, so they will say like, breaking news, President Trump decides, and then you have to click on it to figure out what the fuck he decided. You know that meteor that's coming towards Earth? I found that out through a push notification. It only said, breaking news, meteor hurtling towards Earth. I have to click on that. And now the photo app gives me notifications. It's like, hey, 6 years ago, you were dating a girl you hate now, and she hates you. Want to check in on that? Absolutely not. I don't want to why is it in my phone? I deleted that. Or it's like, hey, we made a montage of your cat. Don't ask us how we knew these pictures had your cat in it. We're using AI without your permission, but here's a little montage of it. You'll appreciate it. And I do, but I don't want to be notified of that. I'll just go find it when I want to. And I think it's pretty telling that we've made it this far in the video and I haven't even talked about privacy concerns. That's a huge thing in itself. We're 25 years into the 21st century, and as a society, it's starting to seem like privacy is a laughable concern. Whenever we sign a phone contract or we get an app in the terms and conditions, it's a insane length that they're expecting us to read. One study showed that reading through every contract that you have to sign to get all the apps on your phone would take 76 days in back to back. You would have to spend 76 days of reading to figure out what the people are doing with your phone information. In the battle of privacy versus convenience, there's a clear winner, I think we can all agree. And this leads to the promise of the ultimate connectivity, aka the Internet of Things. Essentially, the IoT is a network of connected smart devices that communicates and shares data, and your smartphone is the beating heart of the IoT ecosystem. When your watch, refrigerator, lights, and front door are all connected to your phone, you are the master of your domain. The ability to check your Ring camera to see if you're safe, or check the inside of your fridge to see if you're low on milk is all around a game changer. It's very much like that movie Smart House from Disney Channel. I always wanted a smart house and now we kind of have it. But just like the push notifications of apps, I can't see a world in where the convenience being traded for data mining doesn't make a worse world for itself. Our phones are screaming at us all day, full of addictive apps that flood our brains with dopamine, and now we want to add conversations with our appliance to the mix? As helpful as it may seem to get a push notification from your fucking fire detector whenever it needs batteries, does it actually make your life any better? I'm not gonna lie, when my smoke detector starts chirping, I just take the batteries out of it and don't think about it until the next time I move. I don't think technology is going to make me less lazy. It'll just make me pick one more thing to ignore on my long list of distractions that's already mounting high like Mount Everest. And also, it's bad for the environment. I don't have time to go into all of that. I got some notes here. In 2022, smartphones were responsible for 146 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions. That's great. And in the same year, approximately 5 billion phones ended up in landfills. But whatever. How much do I have to preach about this topic? I want to be clear. I am not anti-smartphone. Because of smartphones, I'm standing here. I have this career. You found me on TikTok, and that's how this started. I just think we need to be smarter about the roles that we let them play in our lives. There are a lot of very powerful corporations that benefit very greatly from smartphone addiction, and they don't care who they hurt as long as they can keep snorting their caviar and doing cocaine at sex parties. So let's just be a little bit smarter about how much we let these fuckers into our lives. Okay? New videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you to the XtraTuglets for subscribing to XtraTug.com. $4 a month, you get an extra video and a bunch of cool things. Just go check it out. I mean, you've heard me talk about it a million times. Unless this is the first video you're watching, in which case, welcome to the Tuglet fandom. We're happy to have you. But look at all these happy names who subscribe to XtraTug. They're pumped on it. Anyway, I guess I'll get Abby for the end of the video because you guys keep asking for that. Come here, baby. She's just a big baby. That's all she is. You want to say hi to them? Huh? Want to say hi to people? They're big fans of you. They always talk about you. You're very special to them. Okay, time to go. Sorry, that got intimate. She's just never that calm. It's very sweet. Oh, now she's going crazy. Now she's going crazy! Stop it.